Football is back on the West End. Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech set to do battle in Nashville. I am Chris Phillips. He is Cole Thompson. We're previewing, predicting, and breaking this thing down as the 2024 season gets rolling for the Commodores. Hell, everyone, appreciate each and every single one of you taking the time. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. We're brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com. Use promo code SECU at sign up to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 or more lineup. Again, guys, that's prizepicks.com. Promo code SECU to get your $50 bonus today. The Commodores kick off the 2024 season in style as they welcome the Virginia Tech Hokies to First Bank Stadium in Nashville, helping me break this thing down, preview it, predict it, everything in between. My good friend Cole Thompson. He joins the show. What's going on, Cole? Appreciate you taking the time.
The Diego Pavia era is about ready to be unleashed. I am excited. I am embracing the joy and the wonder that is going to be the New Mexico State quarterback that found his way at Jordan-Hare Stadium last season to kick the living crap out of Auburn. He's going to do the same thing on his way to probably a 3-win record. But you know what? We get a quarterback to talk about for Vanderbilt, which is a good thing. There is actual positivity in some capacity when talking about the Commodores going into 2024.
And Cole, we're going to get to the door signal caller here in just a second. But again, let's set the scene. Saturday, August the 31st, a noon kick Eastern time. Cole, this game's on ESPN. How about that? On the big channel, right? Nashville, Tennessee, First Bank Stadium, of course. Virginia Tech comes in this one a 13.5-point favorite. Over-under set at 53.5. Virginia Tech leads the all-time series 6-3. In the last meeting, Cole, not since 1989, when a young Frank Beamer led Virginia Tech to an 18-0 win over Vandy. Let's deep dive, Cole, really quickly into the Hokies. This is a team with a lot of buzz and a lot of hype coming into the 2024 season. Heck, many have said, why is Virginia Tech not ranked in the preseason top 25? They went 7-6, 5-3 a year ago in conference. They won 3 of their last 4, including the Military Bowl over Tulane. Cole, they return a ton of experience. 19 starters are back. 11 of 12 starters return on offense, 11 of 11, I guess I should say. 11 starters in total return on offense led by quarterback Kyron Drones, who was really good for them, both throwing and running the football. Their top 4 pass catchers are back, who combined for 1,553 yards and 17 touchdowns. The offensive line's the question for Vatech. I think that's probably going to control the ceiling of their offense. Defensively, it's back to the lunch pail. Top 20 nationally in defense a season ago. Antoine Powell-Ryland is back, who had 9.5 sacks last season. You got Dorian Strong, Mansour Delane, one of the best cornerback duos in the ACC. And like I mentioned, Cole, they're an old team. They're a veteran group, and there is tons of hype for Vatech as an ACC dark horse even entering the 2023 season. So again, Cole, you and I both love college football, talk college football. This is a team you're very, very familiar with, even though not in the SEC. What do you see in the Virginia Tech Hokies that poses a challenge to Vandy in this one?
Veteranship. And it starts off with what you have in that backfield of Kyron Drones. I mean, when you look at deep Heisman odds and you just want to throw them like maybe $5 down on to cash out and triple your money, Drones might be your pick. I mean, he was everything that you wanted for this offense last year when it came to rushing, when it came to passing, when it came to deep ball accuracy. He did it all. And I think that the biggest thing is that he won't get to New York City because if he won't have the weaponry or the protection to be able to really, I think, extend plays the way that we want him to going into year 3 of the Brett Pry era. But the dude just has it. There's just something about that mentality of being able to play under pressure, step up in the big moments, continue to build off of your success, never allow a bad break or a bad drive to get to you. That's what stands out. And defensively, when you look at the ACC this year, I think personally it's an open chest. Many people want to go ahead and just peg it to Clemson, peg it to Miami, say that Florida State, with everything that they brought in via the portal, is going to be great. You have to remember these sleeper teams. You got North Carolina State. You got potentially, I think, a team like Virginia Tech. I think that even if you were to go for a really big deep purse, Syracuse has some pieces in play to where maybe they're finding their way into the ACC conversation. But defensively, there may not be a better unit that you have going into this year in the ACC than what the Hokies bring over to Lane Stadium. I mean, this is what Brent Pry was brought in for. Stability, but more importantly, physical approach. He was a superstar during his time at Penn State. He's been able to bring in the right recruits over to Blacksburg. More importantly, he's retained so much talent. That's a thing that a lot of people don't take enough attention to when talking about coaching hires, when they're able to sell the idea of a program, even though they are the new face joining the party. He's done that every single year. He's brought in more than he's lost. And I think that this is finally the season that we are watching Vatech get back to the Vatech that we were excited for, where we would be fixated on our television screens for Enter Sandman against top 10 matchups. Because honestly, when you think about it, every single year, one team unranked finds their way into the top 10. When you look at the betting odds right now, Vatech's got to be a favorite. And it's a big reason why I think that they are a sleeper to go all the way to the college football playoff.
Cole, as we deep dive into this matchup, all the hype surrounding the Hokies. Sleeper to go to the college football playoff. To hell with the hype, man. An opportunity for the upset for Vandy. Let's look at both sides of the coin now. Listen, it's a long shot. But what I thought was interesting in this, Cole, and again, you can look at Vanderbilt's schedule. We know it's a big year for Clark Lee. It's daunting, right? But there's one of two ways to look at it. It's daunting, but what an opportunity if you're Vanderbilt in week one. You know, I mentioned moral victories here, but like, even if you don't win, if you take the Hokies down to the wire, you talk about generating some positive momentum and buzz, and God forbid you pull the upset, Cole. I mean, for as good and all that hype you mentioned, as veteran as Vatech is, as good as they may be this year, why is the line only 13.5? That kind of surprised me. I mean, if I'm being totally honest, if Vandy's as bad as we think they might be, and if Vatech's as good as we think they might be, 13.5 feels low, Cole. So either this is free money on Virginia Tech, or Diego Pavia and the boys have something in store. Because I'm just saying, you know, again, long shot, but it is a great opportunity, Cole, if you're looking to generate some buzz. And I know I'm being optimistic here, but what an opportunity for the Commodores on the West End to make some noise.
The one thing that is a positive that comes from any time that you bring in a brand new quarterback, how quickly can they learn the offense? Diego Pavia had mastered the offense last year.
And Cole, not to cut you off, but this offense is going to look night and day different.
Yeah.
Night and day different.
But you got to remember, this is not the offense that was ran last year at Vanderbilt. This was the offense that was ran last year at New Mexico State, because Tim Beck was hired as the offensive coordinator this offseason once Jerry Kill decided to step down with the Aggies. And so now you already have a head start. That's one of the few blessings that comes with this pairing. A lot of people want to talk about who were some great pairings in the offseason, whether it be a wide receiver or offensive tackle or defensive line. For me, one of the best pairings in all of the SEC was Diego Pavia reuniting with Tim Beck as his offensive coordinator. They already have a good understanding. It's a big reason why he is going to win the starting job, even though there was a conversation about potentially having Nate Johnson, the quarterback from Utah, come on in and be that guy. You have something there. And once you have that identity there, that's what I think is going to be a major benefactor in your back pocket. Here's my problem when you talk about the upset, and it's not to be disrespectful to Vandy. We are an SEC channel. We want the SEC to be the best of the best every single week. A great week for us is when we see in non-conference games, everyone goes 16-0. Like, that's a win for us. But you don't have Will Shepherd anymore. He's off to Colorado. You don't have London Humphreys anymore. He's off to Georgia. You don't have Jaden McGowan anymore. He's off to Boston College. So your number one receiver from last year is now going to be Junior Sherrill, who had 3 touchdowns, which is good, but 20 catches. You lost your 3 main guys. So I have to see it all unfold. And this is the problem when going up against a team like Vatech that has a defense that's not really losing much production. They lost almost no production when you think about their entire roster. 97% of the team is back for 2024. A big reason why we are talking about the Hokies as a sleeper for the college football playoff is not because of what they brought in. It's about what they didn't lose, which is another major facet. So I want to see the upset. I think it'd be awesome to see a great matchup between two teams that, one, we are probably a little bit overhyping, and one that we're just kicking while they're down and beating it like a dead horse. I mean, like, that's what I would love to see. But there's a reason why we are talking about these two teams going in different paths going into this year.
Cole, on the note of Diego Pavia, really excited to see what he is. I think if Vanderbilt's going to overachieve this year, have a positive season, win an SEC game, right, it's going to start at the quarterback position. Now, he needs help, like you mentioned, but can Diego Pavia be some sort of spark plug for this team? I'm really curious, Cole, to see, can they protect him? Because Virginia Tech last year had 39 sacks as a defense. Again, they returned a lot of their top pass rushers. And Vanderbilt's offensive line was not very good. They didn't do many things well. Let's just call it for what it is. Didn't do many things well. Cedric Alexander's back as your running back, but to your point, what weapons emerge offensively? Quincy Skinner Jr., Junior Sherrill you talked about, Richie Hoskins, who else, right? I mean, I think that's the thing. If Vanderbilt's going to have a chance to make this thing squirrely, Cole, I think it's going to come down to Diego Pavia. The offensive line can't be a turnstile, and you're going to have to get creative and just catch Vatek off guard because purely off talent alone, you do not stack up.
No, but the thing that you will have in your back pocket is the ability to run the football with Pavia. That was a big blessing for the Aggies last year. He averaged like 6 yards per play. I think he had 7 tutties on the ground. So he did a lot with his legs, and he wasn't afraid to maneuver outside the pocket when he was pressured. The problem is, and you did just bring this up, one thing that was a major downfall for whoever was playing quarterback last year in Nashville was the inability to protect on the offensive line. Pavia was sacked 24 times last year against Conference USA opponents. And that's a big deal. And this is, again, you had a great game plan against Auburn last year to where you were able to march into, for what you and I believe is one of the more hostile environments in college football, Jordan-Hare Stadium. But you also were only sacked 1 time. You're going to have an offensive line that is going to be questionable at best going into this year. So do you have RPO designs to where a wide receiver wins the route at the line of scrimmage and you can just get that ball out? Do you have plays designed that are just going to be tuck and runs up the middle for a first down gain to reset the chains? Like, that's the main thing. Sometimes the best course of action is not worried about what will define this drive. It's what will define this play that will keep this drive alive a little bit longer for us to milk down the clock, to maybe put pressure on the opposing offense. To me, until I see who is actually going to stand out as that number 1 receiver, it's very challenging to believe in anything with this offense. But I will say Pavia is that element. You know, we did a video a few weeks ago talking about QB tiers, and you did a video talking about QB rankings. Neither one of us had Pavia in the bottom level. Neither one of us did. I think Pavia has exactly what you want for an offense to give it some life that maybe was missing last year. But at the same time, every good quarterback needs a good supporting cast. I don't know what the supporting cast is, which also, as much as it sounds like a negative, is somewhat a positive if you want to turn it that way, because if we don't know what it can be. And when you don't know, you can't guess. You just have to assume. And sometimes assumptions lead to big time problems.
There is hope in the unknown, indeed, Cole. And to your point, I think if Vandy is going to be able to make this thing a fourth quarter game, a lot of it's going to come down to how do you neutralize that Vatek defense, Diego Pavia, keeping them on their heels, keeping them guessing, and having some tricks up his sleeve. Let's go to the other side of the football, Cole. Clark Lee has really put his hands all over this thing and taken control of the defensive unit. They were bad last year. I mean, not much was good for Vandy, but they were really, really bad, especially when you consider the fact this is Clark Lee's bread and butter. Like, I think this is one of the reasons his seat, Cole, is starting to warm up a little bit, right? And there's starting to be some pressures because anytime your signature thing as a coach is struggling and it's a glaring issue, it's like, what is going on here? Like, your bread and butter, the thing we were supposed to be able to lean on, we can't even count on that. So it's a big game for the Vanderbilt defense to set the tone for them. I mean, the big question, how do you contain Kyron Drones? I mean, that's where it starts for Virginia Tech, obviously. They've got to improve their pass rush, does Vandy from a season ago. The secondary needs help. They need pressure on the quarterback. Again, they were not good last year. So, Cole, I could argue this might be the more daunting side of the football when I look at this matchup because, again, you mentioned it. It's such a veteran group offensively. Even if Vatek's offensive line was the same as last year, they've got so many pieces to work with. I think Vandy's almost got a hope for like an off game, some uncharacteristic turnovers because, again, from a pure personnel standpoint, Vandy's going to have to get really, really creative, send some pressure, and force the issue. Otherwise, I think it could be a really long day.
What I want to see is how the secondary steps up, because the big question mark, I think, outside of the offensive line for Virginia Tech is, do they have a legit number 1 receiver? Do they have somebody that can take over games and be that security blanket at times for Kyron Drones? Or is it literally going to be the drones disaster show, whether that be a good or bad thing? Like, is that what we're going to have to see? So how do you feel about some of these new guys that you added in via the portal? They added in the Wyoming quarterback, Micah Bell, I believe is his name, from Notre Dame. He was a former 4-star. Do you feel like that Dericky Wright sticking around for the season is a good blessing? I mean, he's had years now in the system to kind of take over as that leader, and multiple times he stepped up last year and in 2022. So do you feel like that you can make this offense one-dimensional? If you do that already, whether or not you think that it's a great game plan, it at least puts you in a good position to where you're not playing from behind and knowing that they can beat you on multiple facets. And so that's what I'm looking for. If you don't feel like you can win with the ground and pound defensive running ability, if you don't feel like that your front seven can pressure Kyron Drones behind the line of scrimmage, you have to make this offense still one-dimensional to where it is literally going to be bully football. I've always said games are won inside the trenches. Dude, make them one inside the trenches. Make sure that you are making Kyron Drones have to pick up and earn every single yard in this game. And you can do so by having these new young defensive players all step up in a big way.
Cole, let's lock in some predictions for this one. Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech in Nashville. Again, the Commodores are a 13.5-point underdog, over under at 53.5. Vandy looking for the big upset. Cole, do they get it in week 1?
Vandy comes out swinging. Vandy comes out balling. Vandy, Diego Pavia era is going to be promising. You are going to feel very, very good if you are a Vandy fan about what you see on that opening drive. I believe that that quarterback is going to give you hope. He's going to give you promise. He's going to show you that there may be a game against an SEC opponent that you are going to not only beat, but you're going to beat pretty soundly. You're going to win by 9, 10, 13 points. You're going to feel like that this is a dude that has done the right heavy lifting. The defense, I think, comes out and makes a big-time play in the opening quarter. And then halftime comes. And then Kyron Drones realizes, I'm Kyron freaking Drones. I'm Batek. We're supposed to be considered a dark horse for the for the ACC. We want to show that we are the best team that nobody is talking about. And they do. And I think that ultimately that's what eventually happens. I'm going to go ahead and say Vatek wins this game 38-17. I think that at the very end of the first quarter, though, this is either going to be a 7-7 game or a 10-7. Vanderbilt has the early lead. So you take a lead. The problem is you give it up probably within the next 15 minutes.
Oh, Cole, I want to go with the upset so bad. I mean, again, like you, I'm going to echo what you said. We'd both love to see it, right? I mean, what a story that would be in week 1. Vanderbilt comes out swinging. Diego Pavia hype really gets rolling. I think Virginia Tech's for real. I really do. Again, a veteran group. Like, that's the biggest thing, Cole. 19 starters are back. Like, they've been there. They've done that. I don't see Virginia Tech coming in, sleepwalking, looking over their opponent. I agree with you. I think early on, we could see Vandy would land a big haymaker or two, land a big punch, right? Make a statement. And I could see like some optimism building because of things you see from Pavia. But Virginia Tech's going to make adjustments. And listen, could the upset happen? I think it's possible. I really do. Again, 13.5 is a very, very interesting number to me. It feels like it should be more. So I'm like, what does Vegas know that we don't, right? Vandy needs Virginia Tech to play their C- game, and Vandy's got to play their A+ game to win. That's just the reality. That's where we are. Is that possible? Yes, it is. Is it likely? No, it's not. I think what's more likely is after a big punch is landed, to your point, Cole, by Vandy, I think Vatek wakes up, if you will, establishes dominance in this game. I think pulls away in the second half. I've got a little bit closer than you do, but I got Virginia Tech 30, Vanderbilt 13. So it is a cover, not by much. It is a cover, and maybe, just maybe, we've got some optimism in Nashville after a close loss. So back and forth. Again, is the potential for the upset there? Yes. Do I want to pick it? Yes. I just can't do it, Cole. I hate
Chris. I think that the one thing that we both can agree on is by the end of this game, we are going to be fully invested in Diego Pavia. We are fully going to be starting the Heisman Trophy campaign.
Pavia mania.
We are going to have Pavia mania factor. The syndrome is going to be rocking and rolling. We are going to be the biggest Diego Pavia fans. In fact, my goal for this channel is to eventually, because he follows us on social media, which is awesome, to get Diego Pavia onto this channel. Diego, if you were listening, please know, Chris Phillips and I, right here, SEC Unfiltered, are probably your biggest stance. Let's do a 15-minute interview and talk about what you're going to do when the SEC season starts and how you will pull off an upset just like you did last year at Jordan-Hare.
Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech doing battle to kick off the 2024 season in Nashville. Guys, how do you think it'll go? Let us know your preview, your predictions. How will this one play out between the Doors and Hokies in Nashville? Guys, that's going to do all for us. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Cole Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. We will catch you on the other side.